All right, so we got some interesting information here from David Coletto. For those of you who are not familiar with David Coletto, he is the owner of Abacus Data, or at least the lead pollster in Abacus Data, and he's got something pretty wild to say. Not wild, but very good news for us, let's put it that way. So he says, it looks like one of the biggest areas of disagreement among some polls is what non-voters in 2021 are going to do. In our last survey, amongst those who say they didn't vote in 2021, the vote intention is as followed. Conservatives, 40%. Liberals, 31%. NDP, 13%. Among those non-voters who now say they are certain to vote is Conservatives, 46%. Liberals, 34%. NDP at 11%. So yes, the Liberals are continuing to take from the NDP at least a little bit here, but for voters who didn't vote in the last election, this is great news for the Conservatives. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I have not been in politics that long. You can probably tell. I mean, I'm clearly not the most experienced person, but I've only ever voted once. And it was for a small party. It wasn't the Liberals, it wasn't the Conservatives, because I refused to vote for someone like Aaron O'Toole. That being said, usually I don't vote. People like me who are really upset at what's happened in the last 10 years, who have been kind of redirected over to the Conservatives, even as I've mentioned on this channel many times, I'm not very conservative. I'm pretty much in the middle, and I would even say slightly left-leaning. Like, who's my favorite politician? It's Robert Kennedy. Is Robert Kennedy a conservative? No. He's like a left-leaning populist. That's where I feel I can best be described. Who in Canada is closest to that? It's Pierre, for sure. So he's taking people like me and bringing him over to his side, where usually we would just stay home. But in this election, because it's so important, because the Liberals have done such a bad job, people like me, and there's a lot of us, but we usually don't take polls and we usually don't vote. Therefore, our data is not being revealed in these polls. Right? So usually we get 60% vote turnout. If it's 75, maybe even, I don't think it'll be 80. 80 seems like a lot. But even if we can get over 70 to 75% of voter turnout, it's people like me who are going to come out. And guess what? We're not voting Liberal. Overwhelmingly, we are not going to be voting Liberal. We are going to be voting Conservative. Some people here and there might, I've never voted and I've never cared about politics, but now I'm scared of Trump, so I'm going to vote for Liberal for some silly reason. There will be people like that, but most of us by far are coming out for the Conservatives. Most people do not receive polls. And there are certain polls that you can't even receive if you don't have a landline. Check out Northern Perspectives video on that. They received an Ecos poll the other day, and what happened and what kind of questions they asked might shock you. That being said, people like me who don't vote, generally speaking, or who don't take polls, they're not getting our data. They're not getting our information. They're not watching my YouTube channel, right? They're just collecting data that they see. If 10% of the voting bloc is people like me, that's going to be massive for the Conservatives. Right, so let's say we get 73% turnout. And last time was 60. I think it was around 62, 63. So we get 10% more. Those people aren't coming out for Mark Carney. These people, a lot of people will say, well, the voters are just the non-voters are just not lazy, they don't care. Sometimes that's true. But also sometimes we just feel like we don't have anyone to vote for. I used to consider myself a libertarian, for example. We don't have a libertarian party, at least as far as I know. And if they do, they're so small, I've never heard anyone talk about them. So they're irrelevant. It's a waste. But I've always felt like their conservative candidates were just not very strong. And I mean, Aaron O'Toole, come on, that guy was a weakling. And also agreed with a lot of what Trudeau did during the pandemic. So I'm not voting for him. But then all of a sudden you have this young, charismatic, strong debater, great talker, great entertainer, comes along and starts saying all the right things. I don't agree with him on everything, but I certainly agree with him way more than I agree with Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, or Jagmeet Singh, or that drunken idiot Elizabeth May. Or Mr. Clown who can't even win a seat, Maxime Bernier. So who do I vote for? The choice is clear. If you're a left-leaning populist, if you're in the center, if you're on the right, of course, Pierre is the best option. The only people who think he's not are people on the far left. And I don't believe for a second that 40% or whatever the numbers are showing. Well, let's have a look at these 338 numbers here. 45%? I don't think that 45% of Canadians are that liberal, or that far left. I just don't think so. Not to mention, you're seeing, like, look at all the polls at Main Street and Liaison, and I mean, ECOS was flooding the polling market as well, just not that long ago. Well, that's going to affect the average. It's going to affect the polling. Right? I mean, it's just, when you look at the Pierre Poilievre rallies, and again, rallies do not decide elections, neither do polls. And what's happening now is very similar to what's happening in 1984, but the only difference is you have all kinds of polling companies now, and they're flooding the market. Seems like manipulation to me. But that being said, this is a good sign. Right? If you didn't vote in 2021, and you're voting now, which could be a lot of people, 9 points up for the Conservatives, and amongst those non-voters who now say they are certain to vote, Conservatives are up by 12. I mean, this is really, really good news for us and for anyone who actually loves this country. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think about what David Coletto posted here? Let me know what you guys think. Please do not be shy. I really enjoy engaging with you guys. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps grow the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new video.